Hi, thanks for tuning in today. If you've got an interest in the Greek Septuagint, there's a volume out there that I think is very helpful that I want to share with you today. We're going to review it in terms of 5 different categories. The name of this volume is the Apostolic Bible Polyglot. It's a handsome volume that's been put together and I think is a great tool to have in your library. Like I said, we're going to review this in terms of 5 different categories. If you're interested in Koine Greek and the tools that help you in regards to understanding Koine Greek, I would invite you to like this video and also hit the subscribe button. Okay, what does this volume contain? It contains the complete Old Testament and New Testament. It does not contain the Apocrypha, but it does contain the complete Protestant canon. It is a volume that has a number of great features about it. It is an interlinear, and for the Old Testament, it provides a Strong's number above each word. So you see Chi there, the Strong's number is 2532, and then you have an English translation. Now it maintains the Greek word order, and when there's an instance where if the Greek word order won't make sense in English, he's provided little numbers there. So you can see I have given all vegetation of grass to you. You can see the numbers there. So the advantage to this is that if your Greek isn't good enough to read through the Septuagint without aids, he has an English translation under each Greek word, typical interlinear style. There may be other Septuagint interlinears out there. This is the only one I can think of at top of my head. I'm saying that, and it seems like I've run across another one somewhere. But this is fantastic because, like I said, if you don't know enough Greek, you can always look up the Strong's number. You can look it up in a Strong's dictionary, and there's a lot of lexicons that are keyed to that. And so you have the same format in the New Testament, and the advantage to this is that when you find a quotation in the New Testament, you can very quickly locate its reference in the Old Testament there. So just a lot of really good things going on there. As far as the text itself, so I can tell you on the comparisons that I've done that the Bible in the New Testament portion primarily follows the Byzantine tradition. So texts that you are accustomed to seeing in the Textus Receptus are in this text. I looked at Acts 8:37 and 1 John 5:7, some of the common ones. So this is following a more traditional text in the New Testament. As far as the Old Testament is concerned, I don't know as much about the textual criticism of the Septuagint, but there's a number of sources that he's followed there, and so as far as the text itself, I can't tell you as much about the Old Testament text, but I can tell you in the New Testament it primarily follows a Byzantine text form. So moving on in terms of features, one of the things that this has is the English-Greek index toward the back of it. And what you can do is if you want to see, the underlying Greek word for a given English word, so take the word abyss here. You can look it up there. You can also find the Strong's number for that. And so that's a useful tool. But what I think is really great about this volume is past the Greek-English index. Okay, past the index is the lexical concordance of the Apostolic Bible. This is a tremendous tool. So, for example, you've seen in the New Testament certain words, certain Greek words, and you want to know, does the Septuagint ever use that particular word? Yeah, just a tremendous resource. I mean, it's a concordance that you can look at all these different references. You can take a word like angelos, and you can look at, like, say, Acts 5:19, and then you can go back into the Old Testament and look at all the different references that are in the Old Testament that reference angelos. So just a great tool. Okay, as far as the binding itself, this is appears to me to be a glued binding, not a sewn binding. That being said, it will pretty well open flat. So even in the book of Genesis, you can it will lie flat there, and even towards the end of the book, it will lie flat. So it's still like I said, even though it's not a sewn binding, or at least I can't discern that it's a sewn binding, it still will lie flat for you. Okay, I have set beside this volume the Nestle Aland text so that you can kind of compare. The font size on this volume is pretty small, so you either need good eyes or you will need to use sort of a magnifying glass on it. I really, personally, I don't have any trouble reading it at all. It's not something that you just want to sit down and just start reading all the time. You know, it is a smaller text, and that's because of the interlinear format there. Still very readable, especially in the Greek. The Greek text is very dark. I will say on the Greek text that it does have accents, but it lacks breathing marks, if that's important to you. So overall, just for the nature of how much information is in this volume, you're going to have a small text. It's probably bigger than what you would see in most center column references, but not nearly as large as, like, say, the Greek text in the Nestle Aland. Just looking at the Nestle Aland here. Yeah, the footnote area of the Nestle Aland is fairly comparable to what you're going to find in this volume. Okay, so next we want to talk about paper quality. This is very reasonably thin Bible paper. That's what you would expect for the size volume that you've got here. This is, you know, a big Bible, but it's not something that's, you know, just so huge that you would feel awkward taking it to church or anything like that. So in order to kind of make that happen and contain all this information, you're going to have thin pages, and I think you've seen just from the examples that I've given that there's quite a bit of ghosting going on there. Nothing that's too terrible, certainly usable, but yes, it is thin paper. So in terms of overall size, this is about 7.5 by 9.5, and it's about 1.5 inches thick. So it's a big Bible. The thickness is about normal for a Bible, but it's still very portable. This is something that you could take to church if you want to follow along. And just to kind of give you a comparison, this is the Biblia Graeca compared size-wise to this one. You can see the thickness difference. You can also see this Bible, while it's much taller and wider, the thickness makes it actually look like a Bible. It's balanced like a Bible. This is something, like I said, you take this to church and people are going to think you're carrying just a normal Bible. I mentioned to you it's got a couple nice ribbon markers there. This one that I have here is imitation leather, but you can get this in genuine leather. And like I said, great volume, so much information packed in this. I understand you know, that it's an interlinear, and if you're learning biblical Greek, You don't want to have an interlinear just become a crutch, so that you're not really focused on learning the words, the Greek words themselves. However, the references that are in here, the way that you can look things up, its value for the Septuagint, I think this is a tremendous thing to get. And I'm going to give you a link down below. I'll link to the creator's or the publisher's website, the man who put this together. I'll link to his website, but also give you the Amazon link. Some people don't like to, get their credit card out on too many different sites, but this is also sold on Amazon. I believe they've got a genuine leather edition of it as well. So if you're interested in these sort of things, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'd really encourage you, go ahead and get this volume. You won't regret it. Thanks.